What is up, everybody? Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome back to the Bigfoot Report. I am Wayne, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in crime, the lovely, the talented, the beautiful Miss Tiffany. What's up, man?
I'm freezing cold and it's raining.
You're freezing cold and it's raining.
Oh, it's right. It's only 52 degrees today for a high, and it's been
What
raining.
the hell is up with Mother Nature? My God, it's summer.
No, I know. Carrie's like, Mom, it's so cold and I got to take a shower. I said, put your portable heater in there.
It's Memorial Day was yesterday. That's summer. That's the kickoff of summer. And it's 52 degrees where you're at?
It's 52 degrees.
That's stupid.
It is dumb. I have long done changed my winter stuff to the office closet and my summer stuff. I'm like, yeah, I'm over it. But we go to the beach in very soon days.
Very soon days.
Very soon
days. When are y'all going?
12 days. 12 days.
Because my beautiful and brilliant and lovely and amazing daughter Scarlett is there right now. And it's breaking my heart because I'm not with her. She is on her annual birthday trip. She will be 4 years old tomorrow.
Yep.
And counting this year, the last 3 years, we have taken her to the beach for her birthday. And I wasn't able to go with her this year.
Yeah.
And it's freaking breaking my heart. I can't stand it. I hate it. I miss her.
Well, she'll come back in a few days.
Yeah, she will.
I know. It's the point of.
I still miss her.
Well, you're allowed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what's going on. I've just chillaxed today and hung out with my hubby because he's here. And
is Zach there right now?
He is.
Is he in the chat? Yeah, there he is.
Yeah.
What's up, Mr. T?
Yep, he is. He did a 24 last night. He was off today, and he does a 24 tomorrow. And then as soon as he gets off from that one, he goes to the city for 12. So he's working 36 hours.
That's too much, dude.
And I'll see him tomorrow night. Or
wow, calm down, relax. What up, Wayne? You know what up.
So yeah, we were hanging out today.
All right, very cool. Who all we got hanging out with us tonight? All of our regulars. It looks like there's a new one.
We have Roger and Virax.
Virax, that's what I was looking at. Not very familiar with him. Roger, thank you so much. Erica, you're awesome, ma'am. Thank you. Erica is a new member of Manimal Research.
Awesome.
Sandra Piper, you are the best, ma'am. We love you.
I know. I love Sandra. Sandra was in here. Remember, I used to be just your mod way back in the day.
Sandra's been here forever.
She's like an OG.
She is an OG. Roger, Joe Pat, what's up, buddy? Stormy, you are awesome, ma'am. We love you. We'll get to hang out with you in Gatlinburg.
I can't wait for that.
Chris Blaylock, you know how I feel about you, ma'am. You're amazing. Where's your wonderful husband? Is he here? Goonie Goo Goo. Where's our $1.99? We need that $2.
You're so funny.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. Let's go ahead and pay the bills.
Yeah.
You're okay with that, ma'am? Guys, if you're new to the show tonight, please do us a solid. Hit that subscribe button before you get up out of here. We would greatly appreciate it.
And if you would like to be on with Wayne and I, you can reach out to both of us, Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com or me, Tiffany at paranormalworldproductions.com, and we can get you on the schedule for June.
Paranormalworldproductions.com is our website. Want to invite everyone to head over there and check that out. Check out all of the other shows under Studios Umbrella, Sasquatch Odyssey, this show, that Bigfoot podcast, which is pretty freaking cool, I've heard, and yeah, several others. So head over there, pick up some merch, all of that cool stuff at paranormalworldproductions.com.
And we say it every week. Please put your questions in all capital letters, because here recently the chat's been going really fast, and it just really helps me if they're in capital letters to see it. So if you would do that, we highlight them throughout the show, and we do a rapid fire Q&A the last 10-15 minutes of the show, and we can get your questions up there.
Yes, we can. Manimalresearch.org is the website of the organization that I founded back in 2019. Miss Chris Blaylock is the administrator of the website. She built it. She runs it. She handles everything over there. She's awesome. She's amazing. Yeah, head over there and check it out. Pick you up some merch, some t-shirts, coffee mug, all that cool stuff. If you would like information on becoming a manimal, we would like to talk to you about that. If you are having things going on in your property that you believe could be Bigfoot related and need someone to come and check out, that's what we are about. That's what our organization is about. We want to get out there. We want to check these places and gather as much information as we can. If you guys, anyone out there is having anything going on in their property and need it checked out, please consider us to be the one to come and check it out. Head to manimalresearch.org and contact us, please.
And if you would like to become a channel family member, it is only $1.99 a month. All the time. We never raise the price, and we attempt to never let you down. So you get all kinds of different perks with us, and you join the greatest family in the whole entire existence of YouTube. And it just costs you $1.99, and it helps us do everything that we do.
She ain't lying, y'all. She ain't false representing.
You know what I'm saying?
Look at Mr. T there with the $1.99 super sticker. Thank you, buddy. That's very cool of you.
Yes.
But if you guys will look at the bottom of the screen, you will see the Cash App and the Venmo. Mr. Alex Schmidt there says best $1.99 ever spent, and I agree with him 100%. But if you look at the bottom, the Cash App and the Venmo are open. They're always open. That is just another way that we have offered you guys to help us out. You have several of you have been awesome about helping us with super stickers through YouTube, and that's great. If you would rather do that, that's awesome. But the fees are pretty high, in my opinion, and we have to wait a month before we get that. So if you guys would like to help us out in another way, this is an option. We aren't hit with near the fees, and we don't have to wait a month. They come directly to us, and Tiffany and I split everything. So if you guys can help us out that way, it is greatly, greatly appreciated. If you don't want to, we don't care. That's awesome. Whatever.
Just subscribe, because that helps us out a
Just
lot.
subscribe. Yeah, leave a comment, leave a like. That's enough.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All of that. All up out the way. Talk about our guest.
Yeah, tell me about him.
Waiting very patiently backstage. Mr. Allen from Cadillac, Michigan is a very, very good friend of mine. He and I have become pretty close over the last month or so, couple months, over not only our fascination of Bigfoot, but our love of Great Danes. He and his amazing wife raise European Great Danes up there, and they do an amazing job. Some of the most beautiful dogs I have ever seen in my entire life. Garrow, I'll let him tell you exactly the name of the kennel when he comes out, but you guys need to check them out. If you are in the market for a Great Dane, please give them a shout, give them a look, because those dogs, they're beautiful. They're amazing. I fell in love with Great Danes a long time ago. They're awesome, awesome dogs. Everyone knows them as huge, but they're huge and they're lazy, which fits me perfectly. If you want just a big dog that wants to lay on the couch with you and chill all day, that's a Great Dane. And I have always loved those dogs. But anyway, getting away from that, Alan also had a Bigfoot encounter years ago, what he believed to be a Bigfoot encounter in Michigan. So we are going to get him out if you're ready, ma'am.
Yeah, absolutely.
All righty. Alan, what's up, buddy?
Hey, man, how are you?
Hey, Alan.
Hi.
Where did
you
everybody
made us
go?
disappear.
There they go.
Pushing buttons, man.
Yeah, what's up, buddy? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Got the dogs fed early and got things cleaned up, and we're good to go.
How many dogs do you have in your home right now? Roughly.
16.
Oh, Jesus. Not just 16, not 16 Chihuahuas. Y'all.
No, well, it's variation.
200-pound Great Danes.
Well, he's gone, unfortunately. But we've got. Guys, stop to think. So we've got 8 Danes that vary from like 3 years old to just over a year. And then we've got a few Basset Hounds and a couple of Neapolitan Mastiffs.
Those Mastiffs are beautiful.
Oh yeah, they're interesting. Yeah, the one we got is called Boogeyman, but it's just it was one of the my wife is always Canton is thinking down the road, and at some point it was going to be we pull back on the Danes a little bit and maybe do a smaller dog that's a little bit easier to do. And Basset Hounds came up, and they're an incredible little animal. And then the Neapolitan, she fell in love with them. So I think we're going to give that a shot. But the Danes are, that's where our heart is at, is with those dogs.
Yeah, they're the best dog breed in the world, in my opinion. They're just so loyal. They're loving. They are protective. They're big, goofy, and lazy. I mean, I love them. God, I've always loved them.
Yeah. Yeah, once you've got a Dane, it's it kind of gets into you. I mean, a lot of people they don't understand. Why in the hell would you want something like that? But it's like, until you've owned one, then you get it. And sometimes they could be heartbreakers. And I had my first Dane. She lived to be 13. Yeah, it's just it can be a thing. Definitely be a thing. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice to cuddle with a big dog. The little ones are nice once in a while, but it's just something about a big dog, and it's their personalities. Yeah, we're hooked.
Yeah, there's something about cuddling with a dog that weighs as much as you do.
I know it.
All right. Yeah, well, we're not here to talk about those amazing, beautiful creatures. We are here to talk about these other creatures. And you had an encounter with something you believe to be a Bigfoot.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get to that, I would like for you to tell all of our viewers and listeners what first got you started in this whole Bigfoot world.
Oh, geez. So, I mean, as a kid, kindergarten, even before kindergarten, it was just, dinosaurs fascinated me. So it just, I'll be 56 this year. So, we're talking, early 70s growing up. There wasn't a lot. I mean, we had two TV channels and 3 if the weather was good. And, so there was books. But yeah, dinosaurs were my fascination, just the big creatures. Then it moved on to whales. And and then it just like with most, you see something on TV or see something on the newsstand, National Enquirer is a picture of the famous, Patty photo. Then the Leonard Nimoy, when that came on, it's just like, I remember watching that and I was just freaking glued to the screen. I was laying on the floor and my dad was on the couch behind me, and I'm like, "Do you think we have those around here?" And he goes, "Oh, that's just a man in a suit." I'm like, "What?" But it stuck. I mean, because something about that thing seemed very real to me. And then it was a fascination. So it was like Boggy Creek and all that, and I've always been interested in just the things that are on the fringe. Because that makes a more interesting world for me. Than just to wrap up in the mundane and lose your imagination. So it was a perfect fit, and never thought I would see one. But things change.
All right. Well, let's talk about that time that you saw one.
All right. Well, so this is way back machine. So we do. I'm guessing because my youngest brother wasn't hatched yet, so there's a 10-year difference. So it probably, I'm guessing it's probably around 78, 1978. Um, we live so northern Michigan. It's an interesting place, and this town that I live in Cadillac, it hasn't changed much over all these years. I mean, the population has pretty much stayed at 10,000 ever since I can remember, and we are surrounded by national forests. So where we lived, like if you were to look at Google Maps, I mean, you find the airport. There's a road called South 41 Road. We, at the time, there was probably only 4 houses on this road, and my dad owned like the whole quarter of that section. So we had a house on 20 acres, and then behind us was absolutely nothing until you hit the next road. It was about a mile back. North of us, somebody had planted Christmas trees, and they never harvested them, so they were growing. So they were probably 6 feet ish tall. So we had a river running on one side of the house, trees are on the north side, and then from there it was just woods for probably about 3/4 of a mile to the next house. And then beyond that, we were right on the edge of the Manistee National Forest. Um, if you were to take the road all the way down to the dead end at that time, the end of the road that was called Smiley's Landfill, and that was just where all your garbage went. This is a simpler day where they just threw everything in a freaking hole and, you know, let it go. There's a subdivision out there now, so it's kind of I wonder how their water is, but I know not to move there. But anyway, so my dad, he worked. He built gas stations for a living, so he was all over the place. He built them from the ground up, and needless to say, a lot of long hours. And when he came home, quite often he'd come home late, and he had air conditioning in his truck. Our house did not have air conditioning. Often it had heat in the wintertime, but that's another story. So what he would do, he'd come home and usually be, at dark, and, summertime's up here, it gets dark around 9:30, 10 o'clock. And he rolls in, and then he didn't want to come in, like normal. So my mom would go out there, and then they would go out and do a little booze cruise and, listen to the radio and listen to, put on the air conditioner. And
Yeah.
so all these, back in that day, like I said, there were so few houses out there. And up here, I don't know if have you ever heard of a 2-track?
Say that again.
Have you ever heard of a 2-track?
2-track? I don't know what that is.
That's a Michigan thing. So it's literally just two tracks where a vehicle is driven into the woods.
Okay.
Yep. So I mean, we've got 2 tracks everywhere. So we had seasonal roads, and so they just go out in the boonies and just cruise around, drink beer, and that was just okay to do.
Yeah.
I remember one night it was kind of funny because they were out, and I was left to my own devices with my older brother and sister, and we're just kind of hanging out. Mom and dad are gone, so we're turning up the record player and shit. And my folks came home, and my mom came in the house quick, and my dad was right behind her. And my dad said, "Your mom saw a bear." I'm like, "A bear?" She goes, I think her words were, "Bullshit, Harold, that wasn't a bear." And I'm like, details. I mean, so
I
come on,
I love your fucking mom already, dude.
yeah, she's a pistol. So Dad wasn't talking about it. So Mom, I was out, out in the living room, and then she wanders through. I'm like, well, what the hell happened? Or what the heck happened? As a kid, I couldn't swear.
Yeah.
Making up for it now. She had said that they were sitting out. They pulled off the side of the road, and they were just sitting there listening to the radio. Um, and something, so the roads out there, and they're kind of like that to this day, where all the trees and the bushes grow right out to the edge of the road. So where the ditch is at, you typically couldn't see it. So that ditch could be 3-4 foot deep if you jumped in, if you went into the bushes. And so they were parked right on the edge of the road, butted up against the bushes. And my mom always hated it, because the bushes and the trees and whatever was growing there would be sitting there touching the window. So she wouldn't roll her window down because she didn't want the bushes hitting her. And you were sitting there, and they said something hit the truck, just like bumped against it and shook the truck. So of course my dad, my mom, like me, is terrified of bears, and she freaked out. And Dad was, telling her there was a bear and all that, and he's not afraid of them. So um, truck shook. It may have shook a couple of times, and finally she talked my dad into getting out of there. So he starts up the truck, and when he pushed on the brake, my mom was looking out the back window. She said whatever it was tall and was standing. She could see it lit up with the brake lights. And she told my dad to look, and he looked, and he saw it walking off the road. And he basically told my mom, he said, "Well, bears will get up on 2 feet." You know, I'll give them that. It's not what I think it was. And my mom's like, "No, it wasn't. It wasn't built like a bear." And that was it. That was into the conversation. But of course, that had me just like, what the hell is out there? And I knew about where they were at, and it was like kind of terrifying because again, we lived out in the middle of nowhere, and with the summer, so this had to have been, I mean, off of school, so it was probably June or July. It was hot out, all the windows were open, you could hear all the critters outside all the time, and it just a little unnerving. A few nights go by, and Dad comes back home another night, and they go out cruising, they do their same thing, and they come back in, nothing happened, and it was probably, I think it was probably around 11 o'clock. I'm just laying there in bed, fucking miserable. It's hot, it's humid, it's shitty. Holes, I had holes in my screen from sticking the BB gun out the window. So so automatically you're screwed. You can put tape on it, but it doesn't work. And just laying there. And Wayne, I heard this most ungodly freaking sound, and it just, I mean, it shook the freaking house. And my dad was probably 2 sheets to the wind, and he was sitting out at the table in the dark, and he damn near fell out of his chair. And I heard him get up, and he's like, "What the hell was that?" And my mom is like, she's scrambling, and my dad goes, "Get me my damn flashlight." And he's got one of those big old flashlights that have the giant ass battery in it. And I hear him clicking that fucker on, and he goes out the back door. So when you go out the back door, the house was built on the front part of the 20 acres, and you just had 20 acres. So we had 20 acres square, and we went out into the yard, and then from there, there was a horse pasture, and then it was just a river, and then we had like a maple grove out back, and he was looking, and then he come back in the house. By this time I'm up. I'm out there by my mom. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And my dad comes back in. He goes, "Keep away from the windows. Go back to bed." I'm like, well, fuck. That's not cool. And he told my mom to get his gun, and she brings out his deer rifle, and he loads it up, and I'm like, what? I'm asking still, and he's like, "Go to bed," and he goes, "There's something out there, but don't worry about it." And he goes out with the flashlight. I remember just sitting there in the kitchen looking, and I could see my dad. He's all but 5'5" and 140 pounds. I mean, but he's a construction guy. He's strong as shit. But it was still funny to see him going out there half drunk carrying a deer rifle. And so when you walked out again, you had to the north of us pine trees, and then we had some big trees in the yard, and then like rolling hills and whatever. And he was out there, and he went beyond we had an old barn out back, and he went beyond the barn, and when it drops down into where the horse pasture was at, there's a giant thorn bush out there. I mean, it's huge, and he got that far, and I remember seeing that, his light going around, and then I see it like bouncing, and he is hustling back to the house. My mom says, "You better get in your room." So I kind of just get out of the way, kind of like hanging out in the hallway, and he comes back in, and he was telling my mom, he goes, "Whatever the hell it is, they're following me." He goes, "I can hear them in the pine trees um, as I'm walking." He goes, "Something was to my right or to the north," and he said that he could hear them walking. He could hear footsteps, and when he'd stop, they'd stop. And he said that he thinks that there's a couple down in the where the thorn bushes were at. Again, that was like down in a hole, and the thorn bushes are probably, you know, 12 feet tall. I mean, they're just freaking huge. But it was enough to freak him out. And then he came back into the house, and he just kind of hoed up. He was sitting with the gun on the table, watching that back door. So by this time, I had slithered through the hallway, and which comes back out into the living room. I was able to go out in the living room, and then I was on the couch, and then that window looks to the east, and we had a giant glass window. It was a shitty window because it was colder than hell in the wintertime because it was a single pane, but it was a big window, probably 7 foot. Corner to corner, had two sliding windows that would open. But I'm sitting there looking on the couch. I'm looking out the window, and I could see my dad's trucks were out there, and then you could see a clear shot down the driveway. And the moon was pretty bright that night, so you could just kind of see you could see stuff. And um, I remember hearing, if you've ever heard a rabbit get hurt, it's a horrible noise.
Yeah.
Um, so a little sidebar, we as kids wanted to have rabbits. My dad built us this shitty rabbit cage. We put all the rabbits in it. Well, the rabbits chewed their way out and they got loose. And then they bred like rabbits do. And then they bred these wild rabbits. And dude, I kid you not, we had probably 80 plus black rabbits
Hell
running
yeah.
around in our yard at any time. It was embarrassing, and during school you gotta go out, and rabbits are by the front door shitting everywhere, and we were the rabbit clan. But so these rabbits, they burrow, so they're loose. My dad thought it was cute, and he wasn't going to catch them, and the rabbit cage was shit. So the rabbits were, we had like a shed out back. They dug holes underneath there. We had all these rails that you would put up like in the front of your yard and put wood slats through it. Well, those never got put up, so they were just stacked next to the house. So the rabbits just had tunnels everywhere. We heard a rabbit, and my dad gets up and he goes, "That son of a bitch is after the rabbits." And again, it's dark out. He steps out on the back porch with gun and light, and he's flashing around. I'm still looking out the east window. I'm just watching and just seeing what's going on. And as I'm looking out the window, I see a bunch of rabbits, and rabbits aren't typically out at nighttime. They hold up, so it was unusual to see rabbits running. Um, I see like three rabbits run around the back of my dad's truck, and then I see this big fucking thing, excuse my French, on four legs running after them. But as it went, it was like hustling on four, and as it reached the rear end of my dad's truck, it got up on two legs, and I could see it
Oh,
running on two legs across um, our front yard, heading towards the pine trees. And I just remember sitting there going, it didn't compute, and like I said, the Bigfoot stuff, I think that was about the time that the Leonard Nimoy thing, but it didn't click in my head what I was seeing. It was just, it was this big thing. And when it stood up, I mean, just, older now, looking back at, what I know of my dad's truck, it was like this old Dodge Dually 1 ton, had a 440 in it. Boy, he was proud of that. But he, it was tall. I mean, I would say it was probably close to 7 foot tall when it stood up, just based on what I could remember and being older now. But yeah, dude, it ran across the front yard and then headed towards the bushes. And I just sitting there thinking, fucking boogeyman's real. I mean, this was insane. And then throughout the night, we were hearing rabbits, like getting hurt. And, my dad stopped going outside. He just, we went through the house, shut all the windows. Um, Morning comes, I get up, and my dad is asleep at the at the kitchen table with the gun on there. And I just remember walking by him. I just said, "Good morning." He goes, "Ugh." I'm like, "Did that thing ever come back?" He goes, "No, and he's trying to tell me it was probably just bears." And I'm like, "All right." I said, I saw it run through the front yard. I said, "It was big." And he wasn't interested. I mean, he's very matter of fact. I mean, he thought Patty was a fat dude in a suit. But regardless, so Dad takes off. He goes to work, and it's just my mom and I and my brother and sister, and I'm up early. I've already eaten, and I go out the back door, and I'm just kind of it just once you see something like that, it kind of changes your view on life. I mean, I walk out and all of a sudden, like those, the trees over there, I'm like, I feel like something's hiding in them. The thorn bushes, I had never liked them, but I hated them even more now just because of something that big. And I kind of ventured out, took a wide sweep, and I looked over, and behind this little shed that we had out in the backyard, there was a huge pile of sand. And I walked over to it. And so a lot of our stuff was built on good intentions. My dad was going to put cement down, never did. So he got this new shed and just sat it in the dirt. But the rabbits dug underneath of it. So on the back side of it, there were rabbit holes. And when I got up to the back of it, I mean, there was a pile of sand that was probably 2.5, 3 foot tall, just like like it was being dug out. And when I looking down on it, I swear to God, dude, there were two like giant ass cheek marks in this dirt. And you could see where it's just by the way it was, is like it was sitting there on its ass digging a hole. And then there was a bunch of rabbit fur and little, like a rabbit foot here and pieces of a rabbit there. It had gotten underneath there, grabbed some rabbits, and then those poles that I was talking about that were next to the house, they were stacked up. There probably had to have been 20 or 30 of them. Those were knocked over because, again, rabbits were underneath there. I found pieces of rabbit underneath there, kind of just like, fur and stuff was everywhere. And um, yeah, dude, it was crazy. And then, at some point that shitty song was written about the Dogman, and then from there it was just like my mom had, she's like, well, maybe that was the Dogman. I'm like, maybe. I mean, at that time I didn't really have any reference, because I probably would have been 8, 9 years old, so that was just, that by itself is terrifying because I'm thinking of werewolves. I mean, Bigfoot really wasn't on the radar, so my mom kind of jokingly referred to it as like an unknown, or it was more, it was probably just a dog man. And, you know, I told you before, I mean, that the thought of one of those things absolutely terrifies me.
Yeah.
But I can understand, like, now that I'm older and looking back and hearing people's accounts, it's where, you see something that big running in 4 legs. I mean, you're going to associate it with a bear, or if it doesn't quite, if it gets up on 2 feet, then the legends are a big of the dog man. It's like, oh shit, that's what they are. Those damn things do exist. But I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's like I just from my perspective, I would say that it was a Bigfoot because that to me is more realistic. And by seeing those haunches, or like where its ass cheeks were in the dirt, I mean, you could see like the butt crack, and there was two kind of like heel impressions, like up against, like maybe its feet were like up on the back of the shed, and then his heels were kind of just dug in the dirt because I mean they were probably, I mean, 8 inches wide at the heel. I mean, there was just two big indents there, So I mean, to me, that checks the boxes for me.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. You hear so many. I mean, Michigan is known as kind of like the dogman capital So I think anytime you hear any kind of event in Michigan, you wonder Bigfoot or Dogman. I mean, that's just my thinking.
Mhm.
And you and I have talked several times, Alan, and we are both in agreement. We don't want anything to do with Dogman. Nothing at all.
I think I'd rather play as a snake.
Yeah, there you go.
I know I
So
can wrap that around a tree.
I just want to ask, in your opinion, Alan, what is, I mean, is there a Dogman? What is Dogman? Or just what's your opinion on the whole subject of this giant dog that will eat your face?
You know, in some cases, and um, I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but again, like I was saying, I could see how if that is something that a person subscribes to, how they could possibly misidentify. Because I had thought before too, um, if you look at the primates, I mean, what the hell is a baboon? I mean that's in that family. It's a I don't know what they call it, like an ancient primate, but
It's
it's got that long snout on it.
mhm.
You know, they look like a dog of some sort. They're messed up.
Right.
Um, so maybe, but on the other thing, I mean, it to me a Sasquatch seems more realistic because we have it's not the best, but we have kind of a loose track of their existence. With the Gigantopithecus, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of traceable. It's a little bit easier to say, well, it's in the primate family.
Yeah.
Dogman. I mean, it's just like there's no lineage to that. I
Yeah, you
mean,
hear all these stories, Alan, about Dogman being maybe government created
oh yeah,
and a weapon of
absolutely,
war and all this stuff. And that's way fucking beyond my thinking. I mean, I'm not there. I can't wrap my head around all of that because I still view these things as biological, as
yeah,
just a
yeah.
creation of God.
Yep, I do too. But I don't, I would never dismiss somebody, if they're, if they say, yeah, it was the dog man, because some of those descriptions are like, even if it was, misidentified bear or Sasquatch, I mean, the descriptions are freaking terrifying. And it's just like,
Yeah.
maybe it is. And I had mentioned to you earlier that, I was, this listening to that Margie K interview on Into the Fray.
Yeah.
She's a remote viewer, and she talked about Bigfoot, and she's like, she claims, and this is where I really had to just sit back and kind of like, I'm not going to throw it all out because, and I'll get to that, is, she said that they are fifth dimensional, and as are the Dogman. And she goes, Dogmen are real. And that just sent a shiver up my spine. But then she further elaborated. So she said that the Sasquatch like the third dimension better, and they can go in and out. And then to her, I mean, she says that explains the disappearance of footprints. So you can see the tracks, all of a sudden they're just freaking gone. She goes, Dogman um, likes the fifth dimension. That's where its home is at. But occasionally it comes out, and when it does, it frickin' wreaks havoc because none of you don't hear from the people who didn't benefit from a positive experience. So I don't know, but until we can prove differently, I mean, technology, quantum physics, I mean, the things that are out there that we're just beginning to understand that 30 years ago were it was like witchcraft. I mean, you go back even further. I mean, the things that we do now that we take for granted, I mean, you would have been burned at a stake. And,
Yeah.
so we are in it, I don't want to, I feel like we are on the cusp of an awakening. There's just a lot of things going on in this world that are just like, our technology is growing and AI, like it or not, it's really starting to move things. I was even listening to, this is slightly off track. a podcast where they were talking about they ran these equations based on information that they've got from what they understand about our universe. And AI went through and it completely, I mean, it mapped some stuff out that when they read it, they're like, this kind of changes everything. And then someone said, by understanding that or having made that step, it's kind of like the butterfly effect, that has now put us on a trajectory. And I'm just like, holy shit. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. But
Yeah.
that could be. I mean, like I said, skinwalkers and that stuff. That's that's pretty crazy. I mean, there's been a few of the tribes that are up here in northern Michigan have gone to powwows and spoken with the elders, and they believe in the skinwalker.
Yeah.
It's to them it's real. And and I'm not dismissing that it isn't, because I mean it's just terrifying. I think I'd better just sit there and cover my eyes and plug my ears and not have to deal with something like that. Luckily, I haven't had any kinds of encounters like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So is that the one encounter you've had, Alan?
Well, so that was the visual, and then since then, I mean, it's just like little things, and it was so ironic, so earlier when I mentioned that scream that I heard, it wasn't until years later, when the internet was invented, uh, that I heard the Ohio howl.
Yeah.
And because like all this stuff, I mean, up here at that time, it was kind of like, if I dare say, it was like an age of innocence. I mean, you are only as good as the information that you found in the books that you chose to read or the newspapers or local news. I mean, it was just like very matter of fact. And if it didn't fit into that box, like my dad couldn't give two shits less about that. As long as it don't come back, he doesn't care what it is. Um, but when you look back on that, when I heard that sound, it sent goosebumps up my back. I just remember sitting there at the computer thinking, that's what I fucking heard. I mean, not exactly, but it was
Wow.
that sound. And
Wow.
that was when I went down that rabbit hole of just like really looking into stuff. I didn't really, I mean, I would go out, but I've never gone out intentionally looking. I just love being out in the woods.
Yeah.
But looking back on stuff, as a kid, I mean, I remember up the road from our house, like I said, it was all undeveloped, so it was nothing but woods out there. And there's some guys went in there, and there's like a little trail that went into the woods where they cut some trees out, and we explored it on our bicycles, and we're out cruising around, and there was these, like to us, they were just natural huts that were, trees were down on top of each other, and then you could climb into it, and you could almost stand up on the inside. Now, that could have been anything, but we saw those, and hell, we hung out in those things. And then just later on throughout life, just out, mushroom hunting or, doing some of the bike packing, I see tree breaks. I see those, trees that you wonder how in the hell did those get put there. I've seen all those signs, but I never paid a whole lot of attention to it. Even now, I don't know what those mean. They're odd. I mean, they are odd for sure, but I don't know if it's a type of communication. I mean, we've heard knocks. Didn't think too much about it here. The goofy owls occasionally. I think I was telling you before that my wife and I and a friend were on a bike packing ride. And we're doing like 80 miles just out on gravel roads and just cruising. But there's this area. It's about where that handprint that a friend of mine had on his vehicle. It was in that neck of the woods, and you are in the middle of nowhere. And there's always been this spot when you ride into it, like the trees just kind of like surround, the gravel road. And I can't say I don't like it, but I always have gotten that heightened sense when I see that. It's like, oh shit, here comes that spot. You kind of feel weirdness about it. And we rolled into it. My friend Cammy was ahead of us, and Kim and I were kind of hanging back a little bit, just chit chatting. And it started into a little bit of a hill climb. So I pulled ahead of Kim a little bit. And then I hear her say, something just threw a fucking rock at me. And I could hear it like bouncing through the woods, and it came through with force, and it hit the road and skipped behind her. And she's like, "Who the hell's out in the woods throwing rocks?" And Kim is she's a she's a registered nurse, and she's very scientific. Um, so we really didn't have the conversation other than she's like, "What do you think that was?" I'm like, "I don't know." I said, "It's whatever it was had to have a hand and probably a thumb.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what kind of critters are out there that might fit that bill." And I just smiled at her. I mean, um, that's all I could say.
Now,
Yeah.
Alan, we always hear reports of the smell. Now, when you had your encounter, did you smell anything?
No, I don't recall. Like I said, I was inside the house. Screen door or screen windows were open. Um, I don't recall smelling anything. No.
Okay, so nothing was thrown either.
When I saw him at the house,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
no,
You didn't have anything thrown in the direction.
no, I didn't. Like I said, they were kind of like pacing my dad in the woods, so they probably would have been 30, 40 yards
Okay.
from our house. So they were going through the house. But yeah, nothing was thrown um, that we remember.
Okay. Um. Yeah, I just want to ask your opinion, Alan. What do you think these things are?
Man, I don't know anymore. I don't. I mean, I want to think that it's biological, but that the eye shine. I haven't seen the eye shine, but when Brian was talking about it, how it changed his perspective, having seen it for himself. And others have talked about it. That's kind of trippy. I mean, unless it's such a unique offshoot. 'Cause I still, in my heart, I want to believe it's some kind of primate. It kind of checks the boxes for me. But the eyes,
Yeah.
that's something different, and that's we discover new species all the time, and some of them are very unique. So maybe this is a unique feature. That it may. I can't understand quite how it can illuminate like some people they're it's like it's a bright light. I mean, a little bit of light maybe like bioluminescence or something like that, but I'm kind of like I think of that gun that my dad went out in the backyard with. He had a light gathering um, telescope on it. And it did. I mean, it wasn't, there's better now, I'm sure, but I mean, you could look through it at dark and it would magnify and it would bring light into it. So maybe there's something up with their eyes that just because of the size of them and the way that it works, that any kind of light, be it like light from inside the house or, even like a moonlight would hit their eye enough to kind of give it some sort of like feedback, like some kind of light
Yeah.
shining out of it, or the look as if it were, but if
Yeah.
its eyes,
There's something weird going on with those eyes because, like you mentioned, Brian from Sasquatch Odyssey, the recent documentary that he was on, he talked about the eyes being self illuminated
yeah,
and how he felt like an asshole for doubting all these people for all these years. And then he experienced it himself. And I
hmm
just don't know what to make of that.
yeah, I don't either, man. I mean, and that's what's interesting, man. I mean, I find myself having that, Brian's experience be my line in the sand now has moved to to what he has seen because he's a straight up dude. I mean, I haven't met him yet, but he just seems like a freaking straight shooter. For him to have that admission saying, "I don't know, dude, freaking saw it," that kind of resets my line to where, well, if the eyes are glowing, I mean, how far? And I don't, maybe we'll know at some point, but how far is that theory or hypothesis of you know it being a dimensional creature? There's just so many things that we don't know that we are just starting to discover. I mean, maybe that's just it that would kind of kind of check a bunch of boxes, but I'm not ready to hop on that bandwagon. I'm
Yeah.
like with you. I mean, it's biological, but I'm not. It's tucked away into a corner in my head. It's just like, holy shit, if that was it, I mean, this whole awakening that I feel like, our world is on the cusp of. I mean, well, sure, why not? I mean, the UAP thing. I
Yeah.
mean, there's all kinds of traffic on that one, but I think that there's something going on. So
Yeah.
why couldn't these things possibly do that? And if that's the case, I mean, a lot of fuckers are going to be quitting their jobs and going, man, life ain't what I thought it was. I'm gonna go do something else with my life. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. All right. We're going to move into some of these questions. We got a few of them for you. First one is from Ray. Whereabouts in Michigan is this?
well, if you're looking at Michigan, Cadillac is way up here. So there's not like if you look at a map of Michigan, there's Detroit, which is going to be down in this neck of the woods, and then you're going to have like Saginaw, Ann Arbor, Grand Rapids, and then there's a bunch of little towns, um, Big Rapids, Reed City, and shit like that. And then Cadillac is probably like the next larger town, and then north of us, 47 miles, is Traverse City, and then after that, the towns start to shrink again. And then you've got the Mackinac Bridge, and then you go into the UP, and there's a whole lot of nothing up there.
Okay. All right. Bristol, you said you were near Manistee. A lot of Dogman encounters up there,
Oh, dude,
as well as Bigfoot.
there sure are. Yeah, so again, if you looked at a map, there's so lower Michigan and the UP or the Upper Peninsula, um, the state land is roughly, I think it's like 1.9 million acres. There's a lot of trees, up in this part of Michigan. So Manistee National Forest is what we are closer to. I mean, I'm probably, from my driveway right here, um, about 9 minutes. I can be in the Manistee National Forest. If you go east, we've got the Huron National Forest, and that one. What was it? The Bigfoot Mapping Project, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at that, and there's a lot of sightings, and I've heard a few podcasts lately where people are in that neck of the woods over there on the east side of the state, and there's been a lot of sightings over there. So that's not really my stomping grounds. By nature, I'm lazy, so I mean, I'd rather drive 9 minutes north, be in Manistee National Forest, and
Right.
Huron. I mean, you could get there. I mean, because the Manistee National Forest runs into it. Then there's like a little area where they kind of merge the two, so it's called the Manistee Huron National Forest. And then keep going east. I believe it just becomes Huron, but it's an hour drive or so, and I'm not familiar with the area. I mean, I grew up here. I grew up on these two tracks and country roads, so I'm comfortable there. I sure as hell don't want to see one over there somewhere where I have no idea where I'm at.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the Manistee thing though, yeah, there's a lot of like the Dogman thing is like towards music, which is probably about a half-hour drive from here. That's a tiny little town. I mean, if you fart, you miss it. Um, it's just it's just the Manistee National River or Manistee River runs through that town. I mean, it's a beautiful place, but it's rugged.
Yeah.
You get because the further up north you get more into the glacial cutouts, and it gets a lot more hilly, a lot more deep ravines and stuff like that. But,
Okay. All right. Alex S. Did your friend say which dimension we are in?
well, I reckon we're in the third, and it's not my friend. It was uh, yeah, it was it was on a podcast that I heard. So I'm
Uh,
assuming we're in the third. And I was, I thought in order to get to the fifth, you had to go to the fourth, but I don't know enough about the dimensions to, why Bigfoot and Dogman are able to go in and out of the fifth dimension. I don't know what makes that
yeah.
one special. So I would have to ask Neil deGrasse Tyson about that one.
All right, last question, and it is probably the most important. It is from my good buddy Troy. What's your beard care routine, or do you have one? That's a sexy beard, bro.
Oh shit. Well, you got to have something. I used to have hair. My hair is falling out, so I had to grow it on my face instead. Nope. I wash it like any other feller, and I use beard oil.
Do you condition?
If it's in there, yeah. Yeah, I guess you can use conditioner for that too.
Yeah, I wash and mine. I use shampoo and conditioner, also beard oil, and every once in a while throw some like other stuff in there. But I also take biotin. Do you use that?
I did, but it gave me like little rashes and stuff, so I stopped using it. So I really didn't care um, about growing it. It just happened, and I asked my wife Kim. I said, are you okay if I grow it? Because I had just like the short beard with the stubbly stuff, and I said, well, so if I grow a beard, will you still kiss me? And she said, yeah. I'm like, well, shit. Okay, so I'm not
Hey
in a job.
man, the ladies love the beards. I mean, my ex, Jordan, my ex-wife, I mean, she told me once when we first got together. I told her I was thinking about shaving my beard. She said, "Well, do you want to be single?"
Right,
So
right, right,
she wouldn't let me shave it. So
yeah,
yeah, ladies like the beards for some
yeah.
reason.
Well, I was hoping a question because it was someone was going to ask, how did you know it was um, it's springtime in northern Michigan?
How?
So usually the answer would be you see the red robin, but around here you see blue jean shorts and white socks pulled up to your knees. That's like the one of the first sign that it's getting warm out.
That's
Oh,
funny.
it's hilarious. We were on a plane flight when I lived down in Nashville. We used to do um, these road shows with the guitar company I worked for, and
Uh,
we were on an airplane, and these folks get on the plane, and there was four of them, so two dudes and two gals, and they were all wearing jean shorts. And the dudes had their crew socks pulled all the way up to their knees, and I just kind of looked, and so I'm in the South, so I'm keeping it to myself. And my buddy is with me. He goes, "What do you make of that?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Are they from Michigan?" I said, "How do you know about that?" He goes, "Oh, I knew." He goes, I looked up stuff, so he found that on the internet. And then so we sat there for a few minutes, and he was just like, he goes, "I'm going to ask him." I'm like, "Oh, fuck, dude, don't." And he just kind of just fuck around a little bit. He leaned over the edge into the out and the thing and tapped the guy on the shoulders. "Hey, man, how you doing?" He's like, "Good, good." He goes, "You guys from Michigan?" And you're like, "Well, yeah." And all four of them people are from Michigan. Yep. I'm like, I do have jean shorts somewhere where I cut the legs off because I got the, whatever, but I won't wear them now. Well, Kim won't let me. So that would be maybe while I'm doing housework
That's
or something,
funny.
run around like a jackass until she gets home. But
Yeah. All right, buddy. This is your opportunity. If there's anything you want to promote, you and your amazing wife Kim, who have been awesome to me. If y'all want to promote anything you want to talk about, this is your chance.
well, um, really, I'm kind of shy. Um, you had mentioned, yeah. So I'm not the social media guy. So if you try to get a hold of me on social media for any reason, I don't know. You may as well poop in your own sock because I won't be there. But that being said, the my wife has a business page on Facebook, and I think it's just like Garrow, Garrow Danes, and
Garrow
that
Danes.
Garrow Danes, and then you can reach out. So if you are interested um, in a Great Dane, or if you've got a Great Dane and you need advice, I mean, she does it all. I mean, we've got a full on operation. We've got our own ultrasound machine. We got a sperm
Yep.
analyzer. We got some other shit that I don't know what it is, but it's on the counter. Yeah, it's very impressive. But she is very knowledgeable. So we've got a lot of She advises a lot of new breeders when they just have questions and how to maneuver through the AKC stuff and registration. Kim knows that all. And then too, if you're interested in the Great Dane, that's one way to to reach out and to see what's going on. And we do have a web page. I think it's Garrow Dane's House of Blues. We don't do a lot with that right now. It's kind of in its earlier stage, but she's always on Facebook. So if you got any Dane questions, certainly look it up in there. And
I have spoken to your wife several times on Facebook. She has been nothing but amazing. She's an awesome lady, and you, Alan, have quickly become one of my really good friends. And
well,
I
same here, brother.
appreciate
family.
everything that you guys do, and I appreciate you coming on and hanging out, buddy.
Well, I'm glad it worked out. I filled that empty void in your Tuesday night heart.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Again, thank you so much
Of
for
course.
coming and hanging out with us tonight. And we will be in touch, and we will continue to talk, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
All right, man. Thank you. Good
Thank
night,
you for
everybody.
coming.
Yeah, good night. Yeah.
All right, bye. All right, good stuff. Alan's a great freaking dude. I really like Alan.
I do too.
His wife is cool as hell too. The things that they are doing with Great Danes, those dogs are freaking beautiful. They really, really are. Go check out Garrow. Garrow Great Danes. I'm not sure of the name of their what Garrow Danes.
Garrow Dane's House of Blues. That's a House of Blues. That's the website I pulled up.
Their dogs are they're impressive as hell. They are beautiful. So go and check that out.
Yes, 100%.
All right, what we got next? What's coming up, Tiff?
What's coming up? Today is Saturday. Today's not Saturday. Today's Tuesday. Oh, see, I need a vacation. We have Mike Miller from Ohio coming Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern.
Is he a Bigfoot dude?
Yeah, he's actually going to be one of the speakers that you are speaking with in one of the conferences that you're doing. Remember?
No.
Of course you don't.
But
in
all
Ohio,
right.
Huh?
Oh, in Ohio, yeah.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Yep, he will be on with us Saturday. So.
All right.
See, this is why you have me. I'm like this other half of your brain, or fourth of it, or something.
You keep it together. All right. Anything else, ma'am?
Nope, that's all. Just thank you all for coming. Y'all are just the greatest. You come and support us every day that we are on here, and it means a lot.
Yeah, it really does. Thank you guys so very much for all that you do, all of the continued support. We love you. We thank you. Until we talk again, y'all take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.